ladies. It's Pastor Jennifer here, just welcoming you to a video of our Ladies Evening Fellowship. So hopefully you got yourself an awesome meal in front of you, got your dessert, got your cup full, ready to kind of do what we normally do. If that's not the case, then you might want to stop the video, go get yourself a snack, and then you can join along with it. I want to thank you very much for joining in this and understanding and all of the love and support as we have to make some changes and adjust the way that we are able to connect with one another. And we need to be praying for one another during this time, and we need to stay connected as a family. So tonight I'm going to share with you our ladies group, our message coming from, again, our Treasured series here, and talking about the life of Daniel and reading through that. But first I want to pray, and then we'll get right into the study. Lord, I thank you for this time. I thank you for each one that is able to be part of this through social media, through video. Lord, I thank you for the opportunity to still be able to preach and speak your word and be an encouragement. Lord, I pray that for each one that is listening, that these words would speak deep into their hearts, deep into their minds, and just give them an opportunity to show the love of Jesus and to be able to step forward in faith. In your name we pray. Amen. Well, here we go. So this is completely different than we're used to. Usually we're all together, we do some announcements and food and things like that. Our announcements for right now are that our church services are shut down as mandated by the County of Riverside. We can't have a gathering of more than 10 people. So that being said, we are more than 10 when we get together for our ladies meeting. We've been pushing numbers of 40 or more. And so because of that, we had to go ahead and shut that down for now and just be in prayer so that when we come back together, we are going to be mightier than ever and ready to go forward. So as we begin tonight, I just want to encourage you to be reading. If you bought the book, keep up with the study. Go ahead and get into that and really spend some time in prayer and study about Daniel and go beyond. You know, there's a lot of different resources that you can find that you can do a deeper study. And right now, we all have plenty of time to get deeper into the things. We always say we're too busy for this, we're too busy for that. Well, now none of us have that excuse any longer. There's no reason, because the only thing we're busy doing is trying to find toilet paper. So other than that, you've got plenty of time to connect with the Word of God and just to continue that spiritual growth. Right now we're facing, like Daniel and his friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were facing some kind of lockdown from their own government. They were told that they were going to have to bow and worship a statue. Now in our situation, we're not being told we have to bow and worship anything, but we are being told we have to quarantine. And for us, many of us, we've been like, I'm not going to quarantine because I have faith in God. And some of us are like, quarantine? Of course we're going to quarantine because I don't want to get sick. So whatever your standing is on that, whether far one direction, far the other direction, just know that we are supporting you in your decision. But we are going to follow the law of the land. And with that, we can't gather just for the safety of others. And this isn't necessarily about us. This is about those we would possibly come in contact with. And I hope everybody understands our heart behind this and the decisions we've made to follow the mandate by our government right now and following those things, because it's very important that we protect and make sure that our congregation is safe. And by staying quarantined, we're doing our part to help not spread that virus right now. So although Daniel and his friends were facing a life and death situation, we now are kind of in our own life and death situation. And so this book, this whole opportunity to be digging into the book of Daniel and the situations that are going on here, it is lining up with what we're going through here, or at least I'm able to make it line up with what we're going through here. There's different things going on, but if we look, there's a lot of similarities that are happening in this. So just stick with me, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. We're talking about Daniel. We're talking about his friends. We're talking about what they were being required to do by law and the stand that they took. And they would not conform. And they were being told that they were going to have these repercussions. They were going to be thrown into the fire, and ultimately that means death. But they still stuck with what God said. And they said it didn't matter. They could be thrown into a fire. Anything could be done to them because they believed in God. And they believed not what God would do, but what God could do. Because they didn't know how God was going to answer them and save them in their situation. But they knew what God could do. And so they just had faith in that. And right now we need to do the same thing. So they took a lot of courage and strength to be able to stand in that face of adversity. Your ultimate death is what they were choosing based on their actions. And so we also need that courage to be able to stand for our beliefs, for standing what we have. Right now, we're being quarantined, and our threat is coming from our authorities, but it's not against us, it's for us. So there is a big difference in Daniel and what we're facing here. But I'm going to ask that no matter how you feel about the quarantine, that you embrace the quarantine. Because the quarantine is there for our safety. It is there to help others. And maybe you're thinking, well, I'm not going to be affected by it. And that may be true. But right now, if you carry that and then you come in contact with somebody that maybe is not going to be able to fight off the virus, that's what the quarantine's about. It's about protecting everyone, not just ourselves. It's not about us. It's about everyone we come in contact with. And so I'm praying that everybody just understands that and goes along with this and know that we're all having to show courage and strength through this time in our own different ways. We need to embrace the quarantine. And with that, many people will say, but the quarantine causes me to be stuck. It causes me to be inside. I can't do anything. I'm limited on what I have. And I want to encourage you to think outside the box. By embracing the quarantine and saying, okay, here's my limitations. I can't go out. I can't mingle at the grocery store. I can't go to the library and strike up a conversation with somebody. I can't go to those places. I can't go to church right now and be with my family, my church family. But what can you do? So instead of looking at this quarantine as a bad thing and being limited because what we can't, we need to look at what can we do within the boundaries of our quarantine and embrace the quarantine and say, okay, this is where I'm at, and now what can I do with this? Because I believe that in the situation with Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that's exactly what they did. They said, well, we're limited by what we can do, what we're allowed to do. We're not allowed to. We have to do this thing. But they said, no, that's not. I'm not limited by what the king is saying. I'm going to continue to go and do what God has said. So with that, there's so many things that we've heard quickly as this has come down, and it changes so quickly, and many people are like, but I can't get together and I can't get to church and I can't worship God. Yes, you can. You can worship God. You don't have to be in the church sanctuary to worship God. And one of the best ways to connect with God is through music. And music is one of those things. It's so powerful. It's so deep. And that's because God created music. So remember that worshiping God isn't about the music. It's not about the songs. It's about your heart. It's about how you feel towards God. It's those things. So within your own limited area, in your quarantine, we can worship God. We can still stretch out. We can still reach God without being in the church sanctuary right now. And that is what Daniel and his friends did. They continued. You see, the king, as he wanted everybody to bow down to this statue, it was presented with music. There was music that came in first, and it signaled to the people that that's when they were supposed to bow and worship this statue. And the reason the king used that is because he knew, as we do, is that music is inherent. It's that peace that is so powerful. And so we need to take this time and use what we have. You're on social media in some form right now watching this. That means you have access to endless worship. You can find any songs, you can do anything, and you can have your own worship time right where you are right now. And so I encourage you, you can even find your favorite songs. You're not limited to what Tara has decided or what she feels God is telling her to have us sing for the week. You are at a place right now that you can choose anything you want. And you could sing the same song all day long, every day, for weeks, or until April 30th, or whatever. You can never play the same song, but that's your choice. And so right now with that opportunity, I encourage you, we're not limited, but we are going to embrace the quarantine, and we're going to find the good in it, and we're going to find our way to reach out. When we are considering the kind of music, consider your situation. Are you one who you are like, hey, this is fine with me because I'm not really a big people person, so I'm okay with the quarantine? If that's you, or you are rejoicing right now, and you're going to put on some really awesome high energy music, and you are going to be going for it. If you're one that is like, I am a people person, and this is not good for me, I don't like being away from people, you're probably going to start out with those sad songs or those very meaningful slow worship songs so that you can cry to God and be upset that you're stuck away from people. But I encourage you, as you're choosing those songs, pick some encouraging songs to uplift you, because you don't want to stay in that low despair or depression piece. I want you to encourage yourself in the Lord and find some encouraging music to play as well. Right now with the coronavirus, immediately I think about what was said last month at our meeting, and how quick were we to go to fear and dread, or were we quick to go to praise and worship? Where's our faith in this? How faithful were we being? Because I know that many people went out and panic bought, and that's fear and dread. And God didn't call us to have a spirit of fear. He called us to go out with courage, and not haughty, and not in rebellion of saying I'm not going to follow the rules and coronavirus isn't going to get me or anything like that. Not with that kind of a spirit. But we need to go forward with a spirit of courage and understanding. So when this comes down and this comes around and we're talking about all this, remember that we're not in fear. We know that God is in control of all things. And please be kind when you do make it out to the store. God will supply your need. You don't need to stockpile months and months of stuff. Consider what you normally buy for a week or a month, and get your necessities. Get those things, but don't be looking to stockpile. It's causing too much panic in others. So let's be smart about how we go out and what we're presenting to others. Fear is driving some of the most sensible people right now to do the most irresponsible things. And I know right now my concern is that my kids and my grandkids are cared for and they have what they need. Not what they want, or not in abundance, but what they have need of. So I pray that as each of us go out, we are being responsible in how we do this. It's very painful to see that human nature come up in so many, and it's causing too much stress and too much fear amongst others, and we need to be those that are not spreading that fear. And I believe Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they showed that. They didn't show fear and panic, not even as they were being taken to the fire. You see, the scriptures don't tell us that they went kicking and screaming and begging for their lives. They went and said, God will protect us. God will save us. They knew, and there was no panic in them. And in the same way, we can't panic right now. We need to stay fully trusting in God. That piece of looking for getting yours, that stems from that human nature of jealousy and not wanting others to have. And so we need to stay away from that. That's one of those things that we just can't do. We need to be courageous. And I want to share with you the definition of courage isn't the absence of fear. I'm going to say that again. Courage does not mean absence of fear, but it does mean persevering through. Courage is persevering through whatever danger or fear we are faced with. It's not fear. It's persevering through our fear. So remember, as we go out, we have to do this. In Ephesians 6:12, it clearly reminds us that Satan is the enemy we battle, not people. Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Now, I'm not saying that Satan made the coronavirus or anything like that. But sometimes God uses the most evil things of this world to show his glory and his goodness. So I'm asking you to just focus on what God is doing, and don't give credit to the coronavirus. Don't give credit to the bad. Focus on the good. Focus on what you're able to do and the miracles that we see God do through this. We've already heard of many coming to Christ. Just not in fear of this, but in knowledge of there is something bigger than themselves. And that in itself, for even one to be saved through this tremendous tragedy and the chaos that is part of this, even for the one, it's so important that we keep our perspective. Right now, we have these intimidating voices going on and trying to stir up. So I'm going to ask you also to make sure that you are being responsible in what you watch, what you listen to, and how you respond to it. Because right now, the world is watching how we are responding. They're watching our actions. They're watching what we do, how we talk, what we say in this face of adversity. They're watching us. Because like it or not, we are the ones that are on the front lines. And we're going to set that pace for others that may not know the Lord. They look to us even without even realizing they're looking to us for that little bit of direction. So be responsible in how we respond. We need to make sure that we are focused on God to bring us through everything that's going on. Remember, this is not about our actions, but it's about the others. It's not about what we can get or what we can have, but it's what we can do to represent Jesus to those around us. As we journey through these difficult times, God guarantees triumph through his strength and wisdom for anything our enemy or this world can send our way. He guarantees us triumph, no matter what that means, because triumph means something different to each one. So we are going to win this. The battle will end. But we need to stand strong. We need to stand with understanding. We need to stand with courage. We need to stand with strength. And we need to know that just like God was able to protect Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he will protect each one of us through this. But we have to have that unwavering courage and strength to stand without fear in the face of adversity. And we can do this. We can. Together we can. Apart, we're just going to crumble. So although we are maybe limited in our physical connection, we are not limited in our spiritual connection, in our emotional connection. And as we embrace the quarantine and we look for ways to reach out to others, how can we show the love of God through embracing this quarantine and doing what we're asked to be doing? How can we show others? There's so many ways. We may not escape that complete physical, free from harm when we enter a fiery situation. However, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Scripture says that they came through the fire and didn't even smell of smoke. They didn't even smell of smoke. How is that possible? They're stuck in a furnace full of fire, so much fire that the guards that threw them in were killed by the heat and flames. Yet they didn't even smell of smoke. Have you ever done something and you burn some hair and the smell and it just sticks with you and there's no getting rid of it? Or you stand outside at a campfire. You smell like campfire for the longest time until you can actually shower it out of your hair. You will smell like campfire. But yet God protected them so much so that they didn't even smell of smoke. In the same way, God can protect us. Because see, it's not about what God is going to do, it's about what he can do. God can protect us. And as long as we have hope in that and courage in that, knowing what God can do, not saying God will, because we're not the name it and claim it and all of those things. I'm not saying that. But we know what God can do. We know what he is able to do. And we need to stand on that and have courage through this situation. Just like the example of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And at the end, just like King Nebuchadnezzar said, that we will now worship the God of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which is our God. We're going to be able to proclaim that. And people who maybe were on the edge before all this will be able to say, I am with you. I believe in the God of your name, of you, your God. You're going to be able to show them. You're going to be able to be the one that they go, you had it right. Tell me more about your God. So we're going to stand with that. In part of the study, it makes so much sense. It says, make no mistake. The lost and dying in our world are watching us. Fellow believers are also. Others are watching us, not expecting us to be perfect examples, but to see if we're going to show courage and faith in hard times, or are we going to collapse at the slightest threat? I say we stand with courage. I say we do what we can. We show our faith. Being courageous never is about being without fear. Being courageous is going forward, following Christ, facing those challenges, knowing that God is with us. He's more powerful than coronavirus. He is more powerful than anything we can face. He asks us to seek his face. We need to make sure that we're looking to Jesus. We don't back down, but we move forward in his power for his cause. Even now, as we are limited and embracing the quarantine. look for ways to follow Jesus. Look for ways to be courageous. Look for ways to reach out to others, to show your love for our God. Again, be courageous. And this too shall pass. And when we get back together, we are going to have the best time. We are going to be able to come together. That thing of you miss something when you can't have it. You don't realize how lucky you are until it's gone. Well, it's not about luck. It's about being blessed. And we've been blessed to have Our Lady's Fellowship. And right now, we can't get together. And that absence of the gathering, it's hurtful to our hearts. But I think it's going to make us all appreciate so much more the opportunities that we do have, the things that we can do, the things we get to do every day. We're getting to see how much those actually mean to us. So embrace the quarantine. Do what it takes to connect with God. Do what it takes to show the courage and love that we have. God bless you. And if you need anything, please feel free to call the church. Connect with us on Facebook. We're here for our church family, and we want to do what we can to meet the needs of each one. So if there is a need, please let us know. We will do our very best to meet that need for you. And in the meantime, just know I love you. I'm praying for you, and I appreciate each one of you so much. Have a great rest of your evening. Good night.